Hey, what's going on, guys? JC here, and welcome back to another video. In this video, what I would like to talk about is a new barber build that I've come up with that is just smashing tier 100s. Absolutely smashing them. I've been playing for the past couple nights now with this build, and I have been having a tremendous amount of fun watching things blow up, watching things get frozen, and just getting that incredibly crappy loot from the end of the dungeons. It's been swell. So I'd like to showcase and I'd like to share this build with you guys. Like I said, I've been playing with this build for a couple nights now. I didn't want to just rush a build to YouTube that as soon as I was able to complete a 100 with it. I have thoroughly tested multiple dungeons, multiple affixes, and this build just shines through everything that I've tried to really put it up against as of yet. In my opinion, it's probably one of the strongest variants, but this is my opinion. If there's something stronger, if you think that you can do something better, by all means leave it in the comments, just like my last one. I would love to see your ideas and bounce things back and forth, because I love to change things. I love to experiment, even though it's incredibly expensive. You'll see when we get to my skill points how much it costs for me to change my abilities. So I've done a lot of testing, a lot of playing around with the Paragon board, playing around with the skill trees, and this is what I have found to be the best build that works for me. So if you like to blow stuff up and you like to complete Nightmare 100 dungeons, this is definitely the build for you. So getting into the build, we'll go over our aspect. Our first aspect is going to be Frostbitten. This has become like a staple ever since I was like level 40 and I started playing with the cluster munitions. This has been an absolute staple of the build. Absolutely love it. It's probably one of, if not one of the most like incredibly OP things in the world. We have so much attack speed, we have so much lucky hit, and it just, everything stays frozen. They don't even have a chance to hit you. It's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. We slot in smoke grenade just to help with the freeze, so it's fantastic. So Frostbitten, definitely a must. Moving on to our chest piece. So I used to use Quickening Fog here. I'll put it on the screen if you don't know what it is. But recently I have slotted out of putting... I went into a... what is this? The Cold Imbue. So I don't have the room on my bar for Dark Shroud, so I've switched to Umbrus. And honestly, it's been a life changer. Like, I was really against it at first, but I absolutely love Umbrus. It does well for me. It's 20% movement speed, and we get the extra DR from it. And it's honestly, it seems like it's always up. We're attacking so fast. Everything's frozen. Nothing's really hitting us that much. I always leave the pack with at least 3 to 4, stacks on me. So this is definitely one of my go-tos now. You don't have to use this. If you would prefer to not even slot into it, you could still stick with Quickening Fog to drop your grenades, by all means. But this is just what I use, and it works really well for me. As far as stats goes, you're going to want total armor and then just 3 damage pick. I like flat damage reduction, then I like it from close and from distant. If you want to get damage reduction from, enemies that are slowed or whatever they be, go for it. But for me and my build, I just like 4 DR on the chest. Our gloves, again, same as my last time. You want Twisting Blades, Critical Strike. I like that lucky hit to slow, and I like just flat out attack speed. This to me is probably the best setup of gloves. I really don't know what else you could really need on your gloves. The lucky hit to slow is fantastic. And then of course 4 ranks, the critical strike chance, everything's just good. Using the shared misery, incredibly strong. I used to have a 50%, but like I said, I was playing around with builds. This is all I had left was another 40%, but it's just fantastic. This comes from your this comes from your codex if you can't find it in the world yet, but it's just so good. You freeze the enemies, you hit them. I end up freezing enemies way in the back of the pack that I haven't even touched yet. So it's just so strong. Shared Misery is definitely one of the ones that you're going to need. Moving on to our pants, we have Might. This is kind of another staple in the build. You need it. We're hitting with our, we're playing combo points, so we're doing a lot of basic attacks. So this is just 20% damage reduction that just stays up at all times. As far as the stat, same thing as your chest, essentially. Damage reduction, total armor. I have a max life roll. You don't necessarily need the max life roll. To be honest with you, I'd rather not have max life, and I'd rather have like DR from distant again. But if you have max life, great. If you can get it, sweet. It helps with your siphoning strike heals. It just helps a little sustain a little bit better. But you definitely want total armor, DR, and then 2 other types, either max life or 2 other types of DR. The boots are Penitent Greaves. So this is kind of another staple in the build, just to kind of get all of the trios going of the Frozen, the Cluster Munitions, plus the Penitent Greaves, which is chilling everything, plus the Shared Misery, plus the Frostbitten. It kind of all works together. But being that we're using our Cold Imbuement, if you don't have Penitent Greaves, this build will still work for you, seeing as your Cold Imbuement chills the enemies. It's just with Penitent Greaves, it's going to help you tremendously more. So like if you haven't found any pairs yet, I promise you will. Just keep grinding for them. But this build can be used without Penitent Greaves. If you don't have Penitent Greaves, I would slot your boots with Ravager, just to give you like an extra shadow step. That's the only thing I could think of putting here. But I would strongly just farm for the Penitent Greaves. You're going to find them. It just makes the build 10 times better. As far as our main hand weapon goes, you're going to want Accelerating. Again, I have a bottom roll because I was switching things around and I was trying new things, and this is all I was able to put on here. So essentially, you would want a 50% one. But your 4 skill, Vulnerable, Critical Strike would be good. I really wish that this damage to injured enemies wasn't there and this was Critical Strike damage instead. But you're going to want Dex, you're going to want your all stats, and you're going to want either Vulnerable or Critical Strike. This is a decent weapon. It's not the greatest, but it's worked for me for now. Like I've said, I would love to get rid of this damage to injured, but it is what it is. As far as our amulet goes, you're looking for total armor. I like the Frigid Finesse passive. It really works well with having 6. That's like, we'll get into that. I like the Frigid Finesse. You can go Weapon Mastery here if you really want it, or if you get lucky enough to have Weapon Mastery, or if you get lucky enough to have Exploit, great. But Frigid Finesse is what I feel works the best for me. As far as the aspect on it, we are definitely going with Disobedience to help. We're at 9100 armor unbuffed. Once we take a flask, we're at 97, and then once we get our Disobedience rolling, we're like right at, if not, we're like right at that 85%, which is the cap for doing a Nightmare 100 dungeon. So you definitely want to have Disobedience on your necklace. It's going to give you the most. Now, if you have more armor than this, by some odd chance, if you get better like total armor rolls, you could probably swap. Excuse me. You could probably swap your Umbrus with here, just to give you like a better chance. But I think this is the best way to do it. As far as our heart goes, we're using the Brutal Heart of Revenge. That's just 19.5% flat DR. It's kind of, we don't really care about the blow up part, but like this is just kind of necessary because we're getting hit. Like you're gonna get hit, so you want that flat DR. Moving on to our first ring, which is going to be Twisting Blades, is going to be the aspect that we're using on it. What you're looking for is your critical strike damage. Vulnerable damage would be good. I don't have it though, but this lucky hit does me well. But we're using the Cluster Munitions Heart, so you're going to need an orange one. So good. It's so good. Our second ring, I use Surprise. This is another thing that really, really, really helps me. So whenever you shadow step or whenever you evade, it drops little grenades and stuns the things behind you, which it's just another form of crowd control, which is just more damage. It really helps get out of like that oh crap situation too. The damage here doesn't matter on it. You're just looking for that half a second stun. Really saves your life whenever you dash into a crowd that you probably shouldn't have dashed into. You do an evade and they're all stunned, and it's just fantastic. The color of the heart here doesn't really matter because this is where our barber's going. I've got a 2.3 second barber. What is going on with my... There we go. Now, if the way I've always thought about this is the faster the barber is for like farming, heavier barbers are for boss killing. So I do have a 3.9 second barber here that I swap out to for boss fights. And then on this one, I have Retribution, which we're not looking to be... They're not going to get stunned. But whenever we stagger them, they are considered stunned. So it's just an extra 17% damage that they take. But it's a 3.9 second barber. So I do swap this ring on boss fights. 2.3 seconds is perfect for clearing the dungeons, as a 3.9 or 4 second is just for those really chunky hits. Our first weapon, we're going with Expectant. We are playing combo points, so this to me just makes the most sense. If you want Edge Masters here, by all means you can do Edge Masters, just for that 40% extra damage. But I don't think you need it. In my opinion, this is the best way. We're playing combo points. If you just get into the focus of click, 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 smash, click, 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 smash, this is perfect for you. And then we've got Condemnation. So this is definitely what you want to use. We are playing combo points. Instead of using the attack speed dagger here, Ashira's Kanjar, that's why we have accelerating on here. I have tried using both of these rare daggers. It works, but just, I don't know. This to me works better, if that makes any sense. It just works better. And that's pretty much what you're going for. Now, as far as our skill tree goes, I'm going to just briefly go over this, everything in the description. But Fundamental Puncture, of course, Improved Twisting Blades. We're going into Siphoning Strikes. We do go into Methodical Shadow Step. We're going to take 3 into Weapon Mastery. We are going into Methodical Dash. 1 just to get a little extra critical strike chance. And then we're going 2 into Rapid Gambits, 2 into Trick Attacks. We're going to be putting 1 going into Subverting Dark Shroud. We're going to take Smoke Grenade up to just Enhanced Smoke Grenade for the extra 20% damage. 3 into Exploit, 3 into Malice. We're going to do 1 into Shadow Crash and 2 into Consuming Shadows. This is because the Barber damages, it's considered shadow damage, so this just helps us with energy. This essentially makes energy like a non-issue whatsoever. We're going 1 into Cold Imbuement, of course. We're going into mixed Cold Imbuement. So we go into Frigid Finesse. Again, I have the 3 from my amulet, so I get an extra 60% damage to frozen enemies, and they just stay frozen. So it's like just free damage. We're coming down to 3 into Innervation, just to kind of help us with a little bit of energy there. I was going into Alchemist Fortune, but I don't think you need it. Coming down to Adrenaline Rush, 1 in there, 3 in Haste, and we're not playing Momentum anymore. We are playing Close Quarter Combats. What you can do is, if you are struggling with, if you feel like you're not tanky enough or you don't have enough armor, you can go back into Momentum, and then while you're in, while you're at Momentum, you can take your Umbris and you can switch this to Stolen Vigor, just to kind of help with the healing, if you really wanted to. And then, of course, to do that, you would have to get your points out of Dark Shroud, and I would probably, fill this out, and then I would put 2 in Second Wind. But I don't think you need it. I think the healing becomes non-existent once you get to that point, and I just don't really feel like the healing does much. So that's why I've chosen Close Quarter Combats. As far as the Paragon board goes, this is a 6 glyph board. I've done 7 glyph boards. I just don't, me personally, I don't think that having an extra glyph is worth missing out on some of the rare glyphs that you would normally miss because you don't have enough points to get it all. So this is the board that I feel has just worked the best for me. So our first board, we're going into the Devious. That's where we're going to slot Devious, just for that extra bonus to the magic nodes in range. Coming up to our Cheap Shot board, we are going to grab Cheap Shot. We swing over here, grab the Oppress. We're grabbing Safeguard, Calculated, and Spearhead. So we're going to grab all 4 main rares. And we're putting Control in this glyph. So I'm not trying to maximize any glyphs. You'll notice that. Like I could definitely maximize these glyphs, but it's been working perfect for me. So we're going to leave Cheap Shot. We're coming over here to Tricks of the Trade, and I didn't grab Tricks of the Trade. I know it's weird. I thought about grabbing Tricks of the Trade, but I just don't think I needed it. So it's been fine. Haven't grabbed it. We came up here. We grabbed Havoc, and we come down here. We grab Brawler. Now you're going to want to come down first. So once we left this board here, was our diminished glyph. We're coming down into the Cunning Stratagem board, and we're going to put our Closer glyph here. We're just going to grab both rare nodes, grab just enough to unlock the secondary of the glyph, and then that's all we really need. So we're going to come back up. We're grabbing the No Witness board. This is where our exploit is going to go. So you're going to come up. I like to grab both rares. I swing over here. We're putting 39 points for our vulnerable. It's not the greatest. I don't really feel that we need to stack much more vulnerable damage from the Paragon board. This has done me just fine. So we come up and around. We're going to grab our Ruin, swing through here, and then we're coming over to the Exploit Weakness board. We're not grabbing any of the extra intelligence. This is where our combat glyph goes. So it only gives me 49.5% critical strike chance or critical strike damage. If you really wanted to, you could get rid of this crowd control, but I'm only here because of the armor. I just need the extra armor for right now. But if you really wanted to, you can get rid of these. I think that's 7 points. You can fill out this glyph a little bit more just to kind of help boost that. And then you can fill out your exploit glyph a little bit more. Totally up to you. Like I said, I don't feel that it's needed. Like I've been smashing 100s. But if you're struggling in one of those categories, then that's definitely an option. But like I said, this all the link will be in the description, full build guide on the D4 planner. That way you guys can kind of goof around and play around with it. To recap and to sum it up, overall, man, I've been having an absolute blast playing this build. It's done me very well. If you have, like I said, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, leave them in the description, please. I would love to read it. I'd love to discuss, and maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm doing something completely wrong. I don't know. Just let me know. I'd really appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Love you, bye.